Boris Workhouse here for Slap News with Wolverine Ron Beta. Power Slap #2 pre-fight interview coming up against the Bell, the headliner. How you doing, my man?
Doing pretty good, bud.
Awesome, dude. You have one of the most legendary strikes in history. I think it will go down in infinity what you did to Darius with that strike. I wasn't able to speak to you about it, but a lot of the rumblings going around that you kept that under wraps for a really long time in regards to that slap and the technique that you used to deliver it. Did you think in a million years one strike for the heavyweight title would have took Darius out?
No, honestly, I mean, same thing I said even that night after I won. I mean, I figured it'd been back and forth for all 5 rounds. I did not think, for a second that I'd get it with one. So,
Mm-hmm. I mean, looking back at it, I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but the strategy, I mean, you came very low on your first two windups, and then you changed your arm trajectory on the third, which in post-fight interview, Darius has commented that the angle that your arm came from surprised him. Was that the game plan the entire time?
no, that was just seeing where his chin was. He had it like I do, not tucked, but he had it down a little bit. So, once
Mm-hmm.
I seen that his chin was, lined up about like mine, I changed the way the slap came in.
Yeah. I think that's going to be probably the greatest slap in slap fighting history for a very, very long time. That's me personally saying that. And I've watched, I don't even know, hundreds of slap fights now. And seeing how that went and almost changing it up to almost like an overhand baseball throw, and talking to a lot of different people. I think they're going to copy and mimic what you did in that aspect. And I really applaud you for, changing the game. I think like literally with that one slap, you revolutionized what it can be in the strategy and techniques that can be involved with it. So, I commend you for that. Whether you realize you did it or not, you definitely opened up my world and a lot of other people's world to the sport itself.
Yeah.
So, what do you feel? Am I right? Am I wrong?
I mean, yeah, it's not something I didn't know about quite the overhand. I mean, I knew I was trying to change the trajectory, the placement of it because of
Yeah.
where his chin was, but I didn't quite know it was overhand. I mean, hell, I've watched it probably just as many times as y'all or as Darius has. I mean,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
watched
yeah.
it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely, my man. Have you been doing the same status quo since Power Slap #1? Have you changed up your training whatsoever?
No, just well, I mean, this time I'm more. Yeah, I've changed it up a little bit. I'm more working on something else rather than like with Darius. I was working on speed. I'm gonna go for a different area of this time.
Okay, okay. I mean, you know the bell very well. Obviously, both you guys come from Slap Fight Championship. A ton of experience. You guys were able to see. I believe you guys haven't met, but you guys have pretty much fought everybody else. Within slap
Yeah.
fighting around, and now you're facing off on a big stage with a big payday, a lot on the line. What do you see in DeBell's game? That could be potential. Could either be potential cause for concern for you, or a certain area that you think you could exploit.
Uh, I'm not sure, honestly. I mean, the Bell, he's a tough guy. I mean, that's why they brought him in as an assistant coach. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's tough and he's young. I mean, I think and I think he actually had like the highest what was it, the kinetic, you know, hit on that machine. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's a tough competitor. But yeah, I think it's just gonna come down to who wants it more, honestly.
Yeah. Do you think anyone's ever hit the bell as hard as you're going to hit him come May 24th on Rumble?
No, I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, like, I know he's went against like Frank the Tank, and Frank hits hard. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but no, I mean, he's gonna have to take the belt if he wants it.
Mm-hmm. I know you talked a little bit, previously about more of your natural weight class potentially being at light heavy, but I know you said you wanted to defend your heavyweight belt. a couple of times. Where are you kind of sitting right now? I mean, we're less than a week away. Where is your weight sitting at right now?
It's sitting about the same as it was, about 225 or so, 230. So
Okay, okay. So
yeah,
very,
that's
very,
still,
very similar.
yeah, that's still my goal is to defend this and then hopefully drop down and meet AJ or Russell, you know.
Hmm. Awesome, by man. I mean, stylistically, the Bell and Darius, different genetic makeup in the way their body structures are. How do you think you have to approach this fight differently for Power Slap number two than you did for number one?
For number one, I already knew my opponent. We faced each other a lot of times,
Hmm.
uh, which, I mean, it was great because we both knew each other. It was just a matter of who wanted it more. And, I mean, so nothing against Darius. I mean, it was we've had great matches. As far as
Hmm.
Power Slap 2, I got to approach it differently because I've never went against the Bell and I've only
Hmm.
seen him compete in person one time. So I've just been having to watch him. And then I think it'll help me with him being taller. So,
Yeah. Do you get any extra nerves or anxiety, going up against someone that you've never faced before? Compared to a guy like Darius, where kind of been there, done that, you know what to expect.
I mean, I think everybody gets a little nervous, but I mean, it's not going to affect me none at all. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's on my mind a bit.
Hmm. Gotcha. I mean, being in these main events, the title events, seeing what Dana White and the crew, have been putting together for you guys in terms of fighter compensation and, trying to increase the purse, as the sport grows and evolves. Do you see yourself being able to make this your full-time career, or do you think you'll still have to have a day job?
I think the way it's going, I mean, somebody could make it their full time. They wouldn't need a day job. Myself, I mean,
Hmm.
I'm hitting mid 30s. I'm getting closer on the end of being done with sport, combat sports rather than somebody like the
Hmm.
Bell who's 21, 22, who's still got, quite a few years left in him. So, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
still going to keep a day job. But as far as overall, like Dana and the Power Slap crew and everybody, the compensation, yeah, I think people could just do this job, do that, and not actually have to work a day job.
nice, nice. Um, you know, in terms of obviously you came from Slap Fight Championship, who's been around since 2017. JT Tilley, one of the originators of the entire sport. I know someone who's very close to you as well. And coming into Power Slap, a new organization. There's been a lot of talk in regards to some of the rules, the differences between the two organizations. Health and safety of the fighters between the two. I think very early on we've seen a higher number of penalties, whether it be clubbing, stepping, and stuff like that in Power Slap. A lot of it, I would say, due to the inexperience of the fighters coming in. Where do you kind of see, from a health and safety standpoint, rules and regulations set out by the, Nevada Athletic Commission and Power Slap? Where do you personally feel they are right now with Power Slap, and do you feel safe getting up there?
Um, I think they're getting better, honestly. I mean, from the way the TV show was, Road to the Title compared
Mm-hmm.
to the first event, which I mean, I still think there's a few missed calls on the first
Mm-hmm.
event. But I mean, overall, I think it started getting better. Um, as far as feeling safe, yeah, I mean, I feel safe. I mean, I'm going up against somebody who's been doing this for a long time. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to worry about the refs, as much as going against a new guy who might not have no control over his swing. And then I'm relying on the refs to call something. But I mean, overall, like I said, I think Power Slap in general, it's gotten a lot better from day one till now. And I mean, hopefully they're just going to keep getting better. I mean, it took Slap Fight Championship. I mean, it wasn't just an overnight thing. I mean, JT had to, continue the rules set, make sure they were followed. I mean, it's a work in
Mm-hmm.
progress.
Totally. Yeah, I agree with you. But I mean, great to hear that you feel safe up there. We were able to find out already the winner of the coin toss. So we know the bell is going to strike first. How do you see this match unfolding?
Um, it's going to be. I think it's going to be back and forth for a little bit. I mean, he took Dwayne the Iron Giant shots pretty well, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't see him dropping me in one, so I think it's going to be back and forth for a bit. As far as losing the coin toss, I mean, that's great for me. I prefer to go second anyway, so um, yeah, it's all good for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so you think it's gonna go to the distance, or do you want a prediction any other way?
No, I'm gonna predict the distance just
Okay,
because I
okay.
mean I ain't gonna take nothing away from the bell.
Yeah, yeah. Looking at the bell, like you said, in his experience level, giving you a bit more confidence in regards to keeping a clean fight. I mean, these championship matches being 5 rounds, how much does that cross your mind of potentially, not swinging, with full power to potentially commit a foul? Because we have seen in the past that, one foul, potentially two fouls can be an automatic loss in power slap with, only 5 rounds total. How much does that play into your psyche?
It doesn't play into it. I mean, I watched your interview with Darius, and Darius said he held back a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
it played a factor for him. For
Mm-hmm.
me, I mean, I feel like I mean, whenever I line up, I know where I'm gonna hit, so it don't really play a factor for me none. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it does for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like make myself sound better or anything. I'm just saying I can't think like that. You got 5 rounds to show the judges, what you got. You got to leave it all out there. So I just swing 100% from the get go.
Absolutely. And I mean, if it doesn't go the distance, then the fouls are essentially thrown out the window, unless you obviously foul to commit the final.
Yeah.
So yeah. Where do you see the sport going from here? Power slap. Where do you see the growth coming? Do you see it within North America? Do you see it overseas? And I mean, in a perfect world, being someone who's been around it, from the very beginning, like we said back in 17, and where do you think that growth is going to come, and do you like where the sport is headed?
Um, I think they said season two was going to be in Abu Dhabi or something. I don't know how to
Yeah,
pronounce it. I might be right.
yeah, you are.
So trying to get worldwide people involved into it now, and I think that's great. That just means more people involved, more viewers. That means sports growing. Obviously, if you got worldwide people getting involved, so
Hmm.
I mean, I like the where the sport's heading, and I mean, in both organizations, I mean, Slap Fight Championship still putting out great shows, and Power Slap bringing more people in from overseas and stuff for season two, and then bringing
Hmm.
them into the actual I don't know what you would call it, the actual like lineup or the actual crew. I mean, that just
Yeah,
means it's growing and getting bigger.
yeah. I ask you a question. You can decline to answer it if you don't want to. But I mean, looking at the top guys in Slap Fight Championship, where do you think they would fit in the contender rankings? In Power Slap, like talking about guys like Okuma, who we just seen, recently, guys like Young James, guys like the Hulk, like are these top five guys? Are they top one, two contenders in their weight class? Just curious of where you think those kind of guys with some experience fit in the Power Slap
Um,
rankings.
Akuma, I'd put in top two for sure, automatically. I mean, there ain't no hesitation about it. I mean, I watched him in
Hmm.
person. That was
Hmm.
he's a hell of a competitor.
Hmm.
The whole I can't put in top two because I am one of them in his weight division in
Yeah.
heavyweight. So, but he's a tough competitor too. And I mean, I watched him. I grew up watching him even in MMA. So I mean, he's a tough guy all around. But
Hmm.
there's a lot of them that I believe would be in the top five
Okay. Okay.
in their correct weight category. So
Hmm. Do you think with the growth of Power Slap and getting some of these international guys involved in it, um, do you think we're going to see another level of talent come into it, or do you think between the two organizations right now, the best in the world are there?
No, I think there'll be obviously more people. I mean, you got quite a few of us that are, getting in their 30s. A couple of them are getting in their 40s. And I
Yeah,
mean, obviously, we're starting to be on the backside where, I mean, you got all these young guys who may not even be 18 yet that are watching this and probably actually already preparing for it. And
yeah,
as soon as they get old enough to get into the organizations, either one of them, I mean, so
hmm
no, I think there'll be a lot more people, come along and maybe rise to the top, and then not including the people that are overseas that haven't got to compete with Power Slap yet.
yeah. I mean, obviously, there's been a bit of negative press around Power Slap, in regards to the health and safety. Some of the OG MMA guys, from somebody like yourself who's been around it for a long time, someone who, I'll say has been able to achieve some, life changing, accolades and life changing, paydays. Um, what do you want to say to those haters that are shedding a negative light on the sport?
I mean, it's really not to me as bad as most people put it out to be. I mean, I fought MMA, for 10 years before switching over to slap fighting. And
Hmm
hell, I mean, I've taken bigger beatings in the MMA cage ever than I have in a slap fight. So, I
Yeah.
mean, to me, I mean, 3 to 5 hits. Now, I ain't saying 27, but 3 to 5 hits or even 10 hits with slap fight championship really ain't nothing compared to, somebody on top of you ground and pounding you and the ref not stopping in time or anything. So, I mean, and you can't move your feet or nothing. So it's not like you can put that full pivot and get every bit of your power into each hit. You get a lot of power, but you don't get your full power. So it's not like, where people are saying that you just take turns, just hitting somebody with everything you got. I mean, you try to, but you still can't get that full power with the pivot in there. So,
Totally. Totally. Um, you know, Coming next Wednesday, you get up there, you come out with your entry music on. They introduce you whether you come out first or second before they pull you up to the table. What kind of emotions will be running through you?
just anticipation, ready to go, ready to compete. Same thing. The way I was with Darius. I mean, I was just walking back and forth, just waiting on the ref to call us to the table.
Yeah. Do you approach this one fight at a time, or have you kind of thought about now, more your legacy, and how like are you, just kind of relating it to UFC MMA, like like the Gracies and some of the guys that competed in power, in UFC number one, kind of now Power Slap number one. Have you thought about legacy, how your name will live on in infancy, kind of being, one of the originators in the sport? Like, has that kind of crept into your head at all?
No, not really. I mean, I just take it one sport or one sport. I just take it one event at a time, and
Hmm
um, I don't want to ever look past an opponent. So I just look at it one opponent at a time. As far as a legacy, I mean, I don't really care about a legacy. I much rather see this sport just grow and
hmm
become a lot bigger than what it is. And I don't know if it'll ever get to UFC or MMA stature, but hopefully get under there and be respected.
Absolutely. I mean, I appreciate you very much, man. Like I said, I will be down there in Vegas. Slap News will be on the scene. We appreciate you joining us. Safe travels. I'll give you the last word. Shout out, your wife, your trainers, anyone who's helped you get to this point in your career, and drop your social media handles.
I don't really have it. I don't know. I guess I got the Wolverine.sfc on Instagram. And then just thank you for my family, for being behind me. Thank y'all for watching and thank JT. He got me into this sport, and then keep watching. More is to come and better.
Absolutely, my man. I appreciate you. We'll see you there in Vegas. All the very best. Take care, and looking forward to getting you up at that table once again to defend your heavyweight championship belt.
Yes, sir. Thank you.